Hello and welcome to the Nothing Is Wrong With You book podcast. We are the book podcasters and we are here to talk to you about everything books. We always start the podcast with the books we're currently reading. So I'm going to start with you, Athena, today. What are you reading right now?
Sure. Okay, so I always listen to the Tuesday Laydown. It's like my treat at work. I close my door and I turn on Ann Patchett's bookstore, Parnassus, and I see what they recommended. And they recommended Elizabeth McCracken's Notes on Writing Fiction. And I'm loving it. It's listed as I don't know if you can see that, but everything is just a simple number 58, number 59. They're these tiny little paragraph chunks of recommendations. So it's a quick read and it's fun. And she's funny. She has such a great sense of humor. You know what I mean? And just all these myths. One of them, just 191, is all fiction must teach readers how to read it. She just sometimes has simple. Anyway, fun, loving it. Thank you. So it goes on. So that led me to go back and read again the Here's Your Hat, What's Your Hurry, her short stories from a long time ago.
I read that.
Oh, yeah, I think this one
I love her. I never read that.
Oh, my God. Can I just tell you all? I'm not going to call them out.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh, my gosh. It's from 1993, so it's an old one. But The first story about this woman being married to a tattoo artist was so beautiful that I copied the last page and gave it to someone I know who's had most of their tattoo work done by an ex, because it ends with someone saying, "Do you feel like your body's a museum?" And she says, "I'm not a museum, not yet. I'm a love letter." And I just thought that was so, I know, get out of here.
Her books are beautiful. The one about her mom, that was definitely on my top 10 2 years ago.
Yeah, beautiful.
And the one about having a baby who was born still, haunted by that book. So beautiful.
Another favorite of mine that it's on my bookshelf all the time. So then this last one, then I'll move on, I swear. But then what happened to that was that I listened to her interviewed on Poured Over, the Barnes & Noble book podcast, because sometimes I search a name in podcasts to see listen. And they both went crazy over Stephanie Vaughn's Tweet Talk. And this is a book from, again, I think it's a book of short stories from, I don't know when it was first published, because this was a new edition with Tobias Wolff in 2012 doing the intro. She just passed. And so I also wanted to say, I miss you already, 81 in November. She was an English professor at Cornell. And I am more than halfway through. I think these are perfect. And I know that's a huge thing to be but I love these so much, y'all. There's something simple and beautiful. I don't know. I'm not going to describe it well. It's just, I just think they're beautiful.
I think perfect. You said they're perfect.
I know, which I know I'm going to get in trouble probably with.
Kraken is saying these are what we should all be reading.
Yeah.
That's the high order.
Yeah, they both in the interview were just oh my gosh, Stephanie Vaughn. And she never wrote anything else. They said there was a book in the works when she passed in her 80s, but it breaks my heart to know that this is what we've got. But I'm grateful too at the same time, because I love that. And sometimes short stories for me are a genre that I tend to not do a lot.
Yeah, same.
I'm not sometimes I'm just or I get this feeling like something's unfinished, or I can't describe what, but with both of these two, I'm loving it. And so I'm oh, that's nice to find my way into that genre. But yeah, so this was an interesting random find, but really beautiful. Someone said, I found a review that said, I haven't found anyone yet describe the feeling of driving on an icy road when you slip and lose control quite like Stephanie Vaughn. Isn't that great? So anyway,
high praise there.
But yeah. I just wanted to say how my currents are all connected to each other. But,
I love that.
Thanks. Sorry. Okay, continuing on.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I'll go next, because I just want to talk about how some of my current ones are connected. So one of them I just finished reading was Helm by Sarah Hall. And I kept randomly seeing it on Instagram and all these places, and I picked it up because my maiden name is Helm. So it was oh, I'm gonna read a book about Helm. And then randomly Colleen sends me a text and she's like, Helm, have you seen this? And
I didn't know that was the word for a type of wind.
Yeah.
So
it's the only named wind.
Did you know that?
It's the only named wind in Britain. You know, kind of like we would have like the Chinook winds or something like, right? Like there's the Helm winds, and it's in Cumbria, I think it is. No, I didn't know that Britain had a named wind, and it was named Helm. How weird.
Huh. I know. I feel like this is like a new memoir coming from Rebecca.
Yes, I know.
Well,
I know.
and the interesting thing, because I also listened to it, the interesting thing about that is that my grandfather, Pennsylvania Dutch, used to always say Helm instead of Helm. Like, and one of the characters in the reading of it, like the older characters, because it goes through time, was calling it Helm, which I thought was really interesting.
Wow, that is so interesting.
That's so beautiful.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm currently listening to Tennis Lessons by Susannah Dickey. Irish. How can you go wrong with Irish literature?
I know. Right? I know.
I don't think you can.
So good.
Yeah.
And then I just started reading Purgatoire, a novel and stories by Liz Prato. This is actually an advanced reader copy that I got to do a review. I love Liz Prato's work. I'm super excited that they trusted me to get a pre-read of this beautiful...
Are you doing your podcast? Are you doing Illuminated on it?
I probably will. I'm also going to send out a review.
Yeah, cool.
I'm writing down some of these that you're just saying right now. That's what I'm doing. Thank you.
Yeah, so her other one that I really liked was Kids in America, a Gen X Reckoning. And then she did Volcanoes, Palm Trees, and Privilege, essays on Hawaii. And both were really good. And I did reviews on them. And so I think that's why they...
Google Rebecca's name and her name, and you'll find the reviews online.
Yeah, so I'm loving it so far. So great work, Liz. Can't wait to finish it.
Awesome. Love that.
All right, so those are my three. How about you, Colleen?
I have one. I can't believe I only have one, but I just have one because I'm determined to finish this book. This is Arundhati Roy's book, Mother Mary, Come to Me. It is a memoir about her mom, her relationship with her mom, her torrid, fraught relationship with her mom, but also how she comes to be a writer, and a writer that I admire deeply. I was very excited when this came out. I pre-ordered it, and then I got a bit of a lull. I was just like, I don't know. And then it ended up on all these end of year lists, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of surprised people are interested. We're interested enough to read it. So I came back to it, and that's kind of what we're talking about today, is reviews and things like that. But it got me to reopen it. And it wasn't the book's fault. It was just kind of just where I was at. But I'm glad. I think I'll finish it. But it's definitely, I'm just like, I'm either going to finish this or not. But I'm not going to start anything else until I don't want any distraction.
Yeah.
So right now, that is what I'm reading. But I love her. I love her books of essays. I love what she stands for. I love what she means to India. I love reading a book that's about a fraught relationship with a mother. Mm-hmm. So, all those things. And so I don't want my like kind of lukewarm response to it to be about the book. It's just, I think I was just kind of, maybe I wasn't in a memoir mood. I don't know. Yeah. So it feels like memoir and biography. That might be why I'm a little more like, I don't really like autobiographies. I like memoirs, and I know that could be a different episode, but sometimes it feels autobiography to me, but I think it's a person I care enough about that I want to also read those parts. Mm-hmm. So it's a
very
good book.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading.
So I think what's really interesting, all of us talked about how we got to these different books, whether it was seeing it on Instagram or hearing it on podcast or seeing it on lists again, that kind of takes you back to it. And so the heart of this episode came to us from an article, I believe, Colleen, that you sent to us, that was about Publishers Weekly. And they actually started this in March of 2025, started charging for submitting for reviews. And even in that, the charge didn't mean you were getting a review. It was just you had to submit, pay to get it in. And then if you're lucky enough to get the review, then you get published in that space. You can get guaranteed reviews for like $400 or $500. It's a lot. And the article wasn't so much about that, but it was about how this impacts small publishers, and that because Publisher Weekly is how they get into libraries, how people find out about their book. And if now that they have to pay for it with such a limited budget to begin with, that's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so we all started thinking about, well, how do you find about books? Do you read Publishers Weekly? How do you, what's your whole process? So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you find out about books? We've kind of given some hints to that already. Social media, podcasts, and obviously this podcast. We know that a lot of you hear about books from us, which we love, and we hear about books from each other in this space. So, who wants to start us off to just what are your ways of finding out about books?
Athena, what do you rely on? I'm curious, but I think there's going to be lots of elements to this. So
well, I like I said, every week I listen to Ann Patchett's Parnassus Laydown of what's released that week. I love it. I think it's great. It always gives me a great, just even if it's sometimes they'll, and lately she's been doing the, if you haven't read it, it's new to you. Once a week she gives you so I always watch those. And then I think honestly, my other biggest source is I subscribe to LitHub. I don't know if you both subscribe to that, the LitHub Daily. And sometimes it's my inbox is just stacked with them that I have to wait to get to, but they always do a new books release this week, our favorites of this. They have, there's so much that they offer. Literary Hub is amazing. I sound like I'm promoting them, but seriously, there's
it's incredible. Just this morning I was thinking, thank goodness this exists.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really grateful that something like that still exists.
Yeah, I don't know where seriously, that's the thing I look forward to in my inbox, because they also have a series of asking what writers have on their nightstands. So there's another thing I love that series. So Literary Hub is where I go a lot of the time. And then through that, they always say when the new release this week is the bookmarks releases and reviews. And so I look to that list too. But yeah, that's honestly the main ones and the Ann Patchett stuff is new with her bookstore. But mainly it's been Literary Hub for years is where I go to see what they're
actually, I think the article that started this conversation was a Lit Hub article.
Oh, was it? Oh my gosh.
So I think if we circle back, I think that was probably a Lit Hub article that came up for me. I can't imagine who else would have published that actually. But Lit Hub is great. Do you ever read books cold?
Without a recommendation?
I think when I started thinking about this conversation, I don't just wander into a bookstore and just pick a book.
Yes.
I have read something about it. And this is what you were saying, Rebecca, the importance of reviews. I have read something about it, or someone has told me about it, or in my academic field, it's something on my radar. But I think I really that article made me really think about how do I come to a book and the real importance of someone else talking about a book. And sometimes I'm that person in the world of today, but that is really important for me to a level and degree that I didn't realize until I had read that article.
Yeah. No, I think I think with the Literary Hub list, often it links out to the recent review and stuff. But for me, a huge one for me is the library. I go twice a week often. And that we're fortunate at the Bellingham Public Library to have a really good new release section. And I just a treat to myself, sometimes I'll do it after I've had a hard day at work, is I'll go and I just wander the new release aisle and look, and I found some random ones that I've picked up and been oh, well, I would have never known about this if I hadn't just grabbed it and read the back and tried it. So I do that a lot. That's kind of a self-care thing, is I let myself wander the library new releases, because you've got a whole wall of it there. And then I do.
What would bring you to that? The cover, the blurb? Because blurbs are another thing we could talk about, and how those are going away to some degree, but I think that's problematic. But what would catch you, do you think? Is it the cover image? Is it who else said it was good?
No, it's often, I'm funny because sometimes they have them on display. And I told you my joke is that sometimes I'll put my favorite on the display one that faces out.
Good.
Because I'm like,
Yeah,
everyone
good.
should read this.
That
But it's
author thanks you. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes if it's an author I recognize or one I've read about on Literary Hub already, of course, I grab them like, oh yeah, this. But I'm a huge title person. Like if the title for me is like, I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean? That looks really interesting. Like I'll grab it, you know. Yeah, it's a variety of things. Sometimes, yeah, I don't know. But title I think is first since they're all like stacked like that. That's
Yeah.
what I see before the blurb or anything else. That's kind of what. But yeah, I do read stuff cold. I do.
I think
Yeah,
of the three of
I
us,
do
you are
too.
probably the one that will bring something to the table that like I've never heard of. Like you are a person who will, like somebody gave me a stack of ARCs and I found it so overwhelming because I'm just like, I don't know anything about any of these books.
Mhm.
Like I almost feel like I don't want to commit to a book I don't know anything about. And I'm
Yes.
really examining that emotion in me, that
Yep.
response. You're very
Yep.
good, I think, about you're just willing to go in. Like you're just willing to, I think, try a book, and you've opened yourself up to that in a way that I admire.
Well,
That you're
thanks.
willing to
Sometimes though
do.
it causes overwhelm because I've got a nightstand full of things, this full of, and I got a stack of my library books, and I'm like, there's just too much. You know what I mean? Like, I'm also like really weird about getting like I leave the library like with my hand full, like I'm taught like literally like stacks, and then I quickly start and see what hits and
Yeah,
and then I bring a bunch. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think I agree. I also have done cold, like just cold picking up stuff. I mean, last year my favorite book was one of those, like the Book of I just randomly picked it up, never heard of it. But it was cover and it was title, and that was out, so I could see the cover. But typically it is title as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, it is what is it about, right? Like doing the little. I don't really care too much about who recommends it, but more of like what is it about. And then I typically of those ones, I'll read a first couple paragraphs.
Yeah.
So like I think about this at Village Books for my birthday. I always go get myself some books. So I just walk around with a huge stack for a while and be like, I can't buy all of these. So
Right.
like that's my whole process then. I just like kind of. But I think that's also going to certain areas. Like I pretty much do that a lot with memoir,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's like my area. So I like to kind of just like what's out there and not necessarily what are people recommending, but what speaks to me in this space. But yeah, so for me, it's really interesting because I used to subscribe to LitHub and it was too much. I was like, I cannot, no, too much. I can't handle all this stuff coming at me.
Yeah.
It was also like to your point of like this stack of email. I'm a zero inbox person, so it was like, oh, just I can't. No, like that's.
I'm a 10,000 email inbox person.
Me too.
I'm glad somebody's a zero inbox person.
So I rely heavily on obviously recommendations from my friends, as well as like what I'm seeing from authors or other bookstores on Instagram. But my big one for me as well is the Chuckanut Reader.
You guys
And
love
this
that reader.
this is a little booklet catalog that comes out from our local bookstore. It is that paper that's like reminds you of Scholastic Bookstore, little. And so I go through this and I like start marking things, like circling them. But then my whole process with that, I do have a process. So I'm committed to always buying at least a couple books out of the Chuckanut Reader with my bookstore because they send me this beautiful thing to introduce me to new books. But I check my library. I check my audiobooks. I also check Goodreads. So I also I'm like comparing what are other people saying about this. And Athena knows this because she'll recommend a book and I'm like, well, it got 2 stars on Goodreads. And she's like, stop reading Goodreads.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's an important part of that now for a lot of people. Yeah.
I think, and I'm always okay if people give it bad stars if I read what they're saying, right? Because sometimes people just don't connect. That's often what we talk about in this podcast. Like it just didn't resonate with me, and that's fine. So it's just more what are the areas that they're talking about? If they're just like, oh my gosh, this needed an editor. This was it was. Then I'm not probably going to go into it. But if it was like, I didn't like the characters or I don't like, I think one of the books I recommended recently, somewhat like it had bad Goodreads because it was like, I don't like books that have ghosts in it. And I was like, okay, well, I don't mind books that have ghosts
I
in
feel
it.
like we shouldn't get to write a review if that's your reason. I don't know.
But
I
but I
know.
think what's interesting about what your question there, Colleen, was that I will also then just randomly pick up a book,
Yeah.
and just
I
be
rarely do that anymore. I feel so overwhelmed by my TBR pile. I don't know. I appreciate I don't know. I don't know if it's like Time's winged chariot behind me because I'm
Yeah.
51 now and I feel like I have limited reading lifetime left. And so I
Yeah.
just like, oh, I want somebody to have endorsed this book or at
Right.
least told me it's worth looking at, which is weird. And again, I know in some ways I am that person in very specific realms that I want to talk about. But so what do those reviews come from Publishers Weekly? Like what happens when now we're putting up another gate for writers to get through the noise?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think
where do those come from?
I'm going to come back a second to my Chuckanut Reader,
That's what I
because
want to know about.
in this, the blurbs are often what you get from the publisher, right? But they also usually have an indie press pages. There's also in the bookstore have an indie press space. But the ones I love the most, and it's the same in the bookstore, are the recommendations from the employees.
Yeah.
I
So
love staff picks. Yep.
No.
yeah, so
Yes.
they all have shelves in the bookstore that you get to know which ones like resonate with you, or what, like, they pick books that you like, and so I often go look at them and be like, oh, that sounds interesting from this book, well, looking at their bookshelf. So I think it's a mix of what's in here, mostly from publishers, but then also from people in the bookstore. So
Yep. Oh, and you just reminded me too. One other thing I was going to say is when I talked about my library, I love the online lists. Like King County just released the librarian's favorites of 2025, and I go through that too. So librarian or like public library lists that they put on their website. Like I love my library. I do.
Too.
What about you, Colleen?
I think I feel like I'm a person who just needs to have seen something about it, and that's why I picked the Arundhati Roy book. That that was a book that I came upon because there's all these authors that we read, and somehow the algorithm knows that I like her, and so something told me that she had a book coming out. Maybe it was a review, but then a list compels me to go back to it. So
Yep.
I don't need a book to be like, oh, I don't need somebody to say this book was good and I think I'm wrong. It's just like, oh, maybe I should give it another look, or maybe I should think about it. I really rely on, so like for World Lit stuff, I really rely on World Lit Today. This is a fantastic magazine if you want to know what's being written in the rest of the world. I am always going to buy at least one book that's been reviewed. I mean, the review section is huge. It's a tremendous amount of reviews. The review editor is phenomenal to work with. He has a sense of what his reviewers are going to like, so he'll often suggest or will suggest, but there's no paywall, right? Like there's no, like, I just tell Rob books I want to review, and then I get a book, and then I send a review. Like there's nothing in the way. I'm worried about the gatekeeping. I'm worried that we are, part of this is twofold. So these like really famous authors are starting to say like blurbs shouldn't matter. And blurbing is weird, right? Like it's a weird world, but also how nice, right? Like how nice for you that you don't think that blurbs should exist anymore. And yes, I can acknowledge that it can be shady, but there's still a value to me seeing like, oh, this person liked this book. And it does kind of put me into a dialogue or a conversation with other writers that maybe I wouldn't know. So I am increasingly concerned about the publishing industry. Like a Kirkus review costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I think we've talked about these before, and you pay for it. You do get a review. Whether or not you want to use it is what you decide upon. But who has this kind of money? Like, this is the thing. Like, it costs so much to create a book now. And now Publishers Weekly is going to charge for this. Like, how do you get through the noise. Like only these huge industries, like in the people in the industry, are going to get through all this noise, and we're going to rely more on book talk, which is fine. I have plenty of book talkers I like. Maybe we're part of that too. I don't know, but I'm concerned more and more, and I don't know how that was being subsidized, because somebody does need to pay. For World Lit Today, I get a free book. That's what I get. I have gotten paid once for a review for a longer book. So they will pay sometimes. But that's the deal, right? I get the book for free and I'm willing to write the review. So I'm a little concerned about gatekeeping and whose voice is going to get heard.
Well, I think that's the same. I mean, I have not heard this whole thing about the publishing industry getting rid of blurbs. But I think, again, in that the only people that you're hurting are small presses. So once again, it's like if you get on Oprah's book club, you don't need blurbs. If you are famous and have a memoir, you don't need blurbs, right? But I think to your point, the blurbs for me isn't so much about me necessarily going to impact my decision on buying the book, but it could make me go, oh, who's that person?
Yep.
I might want to look up their book as well, right? Like that's more to the point that blurbs help other authors. It's not just helping the author that they're blurbing. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't really realize.
There's some authors that I follow, and they're just like, this is shady, but they're all big authors.
Well, why is it shady?
Because it's transactional. It can feel transactional, and I get that. I understand, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that's a very negative view of blurbs. And I think big authors are asked to blurb a lot of books because that blurb would be a big deal. But again, these aren't the books I'm talking about. I'm talking, like you said, I'm talking about the smaller, quieter books that if I read this book and I really like it, I'm going to be like, I want to see what that book is and see what this person is. So I don't want these things to go away, and I don't want them to cost money.
Right.
For these people.
Especially small presses, right? Like, I mean, I feel like, and maybe there is some underbelly to big publishing blurbing. I would not know, but it kind of feels like there's probably money exchange there, or whatever, to get somebody's blurb. But for the most part, in my experience, it is your community. You're in a community of writers. This is your community, and you have finished a book and you're asking them to blurb. And from my experience, sometimes it's like, I'm swamped, I'm on a big project, no I can't, or but I could recommend someone else. I mean, that's how I found other authors, was from going to an author to blurb, to say, how about these people, and then they love my book, and then it's like, it's building your community. And so anyway, I know we're getting into the whole blurb thing, but what this change of blurbing and reviewing, it doesn't impact the big ones. It impacts small publishers or new authors. And that is what's problematic here, right? That it's becoming like a monopoly. Not that it isn't already, but it's making it even worse.
It is getting worse. Yeah. And part of, I think, what we want to do as people that have conversations about books is get people to think about that monopoly, get people to think about who controls this, who gets to decide what should count and what shouldn't. And I'm going to assume Publishers Weekly, I hope, is using that money to pay its reviewers, but I don't know. Are they? Or is it just like another giant corporation that's paying its shareholders or whatever, and it's on the backs of small independent writers, the people we want to be able to break through? And if it needs to be book talk, if it needs to be, how do we discover books is the question, and I discover it from other people, and so if for me it's from other people. Who are the people that are going to break through the noise for me?
Yep.
And I need those people, and it's going to be Publishers Weekly that then informs what your library picks to buy. It's going to be, a Kirkus review is still kind of that gold standard. Well, a Kirkus review, if your publisher is not huge, costs $400. Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
To seek out. And I don't know how much a Publisher's Weekly one was, but that's why I sent you guys the article, because I felt like that was like, it's not good news. It wasn't good news to me
Right.
as a reader or as a writer or as a person who assigns books to teach or anything.
Yeah. Well, when so much of like what we do, all of us in our daily lives, revolves around books in some way, shape, or form. And so to know that there's another layer of trying to control, like what gets published, what gets shared, what gets out there. I mean, I think a big concern about the Publishers Weekly for me, and that like what happened was because how libraries use it, right? Like this is where they use that to pick their next books and what they're bringing in. To Athena talking about the whole section of all like new releases. Like if that's going to take away some small presses from that, and I mean it might not, but it's going to require those librarians to go to other sources, right? Like to go and spend a lot more time trying to find other voices.
Busy, underpaid, overwhelmed librarians.
Right.
Another source, like, right? Like, and that's, and they will, because librarians are amazing. But if we can't streamline this, this was the thing that streamlined it. And you guys are lucky you have that Chuckanut reader. I know you both like celebrate the arrival of it. Is it quarterly?
It's the best.
I think it is, yeah.
I know you mention it all the time. You invoke it all the time, and
it's awesome.
It is awesome. It seems like a really great resource for your community. And I'm just not, it's very rare for me to just not read something that hasn't been put on my radar in some way. And so who's putting stuff on the radar? What is at stake for writers if they can't put stuff on the radar? Like it's really a challenging landscape, I think, for people, for writers.
Well, and I know like this is a labor of love from our bookstore, right? Like and they have to pay a lot of money to produce this, right? So, I mean, this is their commitment to getting the information out there. You can pick them up in the store, but they also get mailed to you if you're like a member. You know, you don't realize like how much I love it so much, and it does make me buy books from them. It's a huge cost to them too, right?
Yeah.
And time and labor and effort, and if you're listening, you know, Rebecca keeps holding up this beautiful dozens of page. It like reminds me of when you would get a catalog in the mail. The joy of a Scholastic reader, right? As a kid, like that's what you compared it to. It's the joy of getting that thing and then sitting there and circling things and then figuring out what you can get. Oh yeah, holding it up. It looks like a Scholastic reader.
I know, that's why I love it so much. It's like when you used to get them in school and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna get these books.
Yeah. But we need reviewers, right? We need these things. I do. I admire people that'll just be like, oh, I know nothing about this book. I'm going to read it. Yeah. I admire that in people.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's as simple as posting a picture of the book on your Instagram.
Which is what
that is how we find books too, right? Like, you don't have to be a book reviewer. You don't have to go into the whole, like, I'm going to, you know, tell you everything about this book. But to let us know that you're reading it and that you liked it. Or even if you're just reading it, I think that's another way for us just to see. Because to your point, when you're talking about getting things like, you know, cold, sometimes it is you might not know anything about it, but you've been seeing it, right?
Yeah, it's in the ethos, it's in the landscape, and you see it a few times, and you're just like, all right, what is that book? Yeah, that happens. Yeah. I always try to post pictures of books I'm reading, even if I don't think it's the best book I've ever read, like just to show what I'm reading. I think it's helpful. I want to know what other people are reading too. This is about creating community.
Yeah, Instagram book reviews are also huge.
What are
the people reviewing books on Instagram also fills my list of things to read.
Oh my god, I buy so much off of what somebody says about a book. Always.
And I think too, like following bookstores, because bookstores, much like we have the shelves in our bookstore themselves, their staff come on and tell you what they're reading. Like I follow a lot of bookstores throughout, you know, the world, and it's so great to hear what people are reading in those spaces. So, I mean, that's another way to just get a free recommendation, is to walk into a bookstore and ask what do you like to read? I know, Athena, that you often get books that way by talking to booksellers.
Yep, I do. That helps me a lot. I love talking to booksellers. It's just fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, it was just something I was thinking about. I think it's interesting. We're all so different in that. My guess is people also listening or watching are different. And maybe we can help. Maybe we've helped with that a little bit, which is, I think, one of my biggest joys is when somebody reads a book because I recommended it or suggested it, and then they loved it. And that gets my heart so happy, and I love doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, we will move next to our portion of the book podcast where we do give you a recommendation of a book or books that we would like you to get connected to. Thank you for joining the three of us today. We are so happy that you are part of our reading community. Thank you for all your engagement on social media and the platforms of where you're listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it when you give us those thumbs up, make some comments down below, and or share out an episode with a friend. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on our episodes. And thank you so much for listening, for engaging, for following us, and for being part of our community. So today we've been talking a little bit about, how you're finding out about books. And we know and we love that this is a space that you're learning about books. And so today we have 2 recommendations. And the first one I'm going to pass on to you, Athena. What book are we recommending today?
Oh, I'm so excited to recommend this book. I am holding up, this is so emotional and amazing, y'all. I'm holding up Colleen's book. Colleen of our amazing podcast, our incredible friend and amazing writer, just wrote this gorgeous, gorgeous memoir called E=MC², a story of infertility, miscarriage, and love. And this was honestly, and I know it's easy to say, oh, we're friends, we do this podcast together, but it's not that. This is not why I love this so much. This book was so beautifully done. It's so emotional. It's so raw. And I was just, one thing for me, I was like, as I kept reading, I was like, gosh, this is so honest. What a gift this is to other women that have been through this, to be able to sit there and go, yes, yes, yes. Because it was just so honest. There was nothing like, no sugarcoating the pain of the experience and the truth of it. And also the joy and beauty that comes with everything that, I won't give it away. Read this book. It's absolutely amazing. It's really beautiful. I feel honored to know you. I can't wait to give this to others to read it. Really beautifully done. Gorgeous memoir. Really, everyone, read this. Pick up a copy of this. It's lovely. Rebecca, I'll let you go too.
Yeah, I think you said so much of what is at the heart of it, is that it's honesty. It's so super accessible and relatable, but so honest and authentic. And I think there's just the beautiful way that Colleen shares her story, weaving it all together, helping you kind of get involved or understand what's going on, is through her honesty and authentic voice. And it's like, there's sad moments, there's funny moments. You get all the emotions throughout this book, which I love so much as well. And I always love a memoir that has some pictures. So there's pictures in this one as well. And I think, I think, when Colleen started writing this book, it was such a need, and it still is. People don't talk about this. Like miscarriage in general, they don't talk about. It is like I think, Colleen, you at one point you talked about it in your book launch about the whispers. It is the thing that's whispered. And my mom had 5 miscarriages before she had my brother. And, it was always a little whisper, like there were others before all of you, before the 3 of you, there were others, right? And I think at the time I didn't really understand what that meant. Right, as a kid, whatever. I don't know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But reading this, you're just like, wow. I mean, it helped me even understand my mom a little bit better. Like, I think it helps you put yourself in the shoes of people that are struggling through this.
Yeah.
So even if you are not a mother, if we haven't had children, you've had a mother, she probably had miscarriages, and you have friends that are probably having miscarriages that you are just not aware of. And so I think it's so important that this book is out in the world. I'm sharing it with everyone and anyone that I can hand it off to. So highly recommend. It's a beautiful book.
Thank you, guys. That's very sweet. And Athena, there was a book launch party, and because I know you liked that part where I'm like, take what you want and save the rest for Ev. Like, you really liked that. And there were like questions, and Ev was at the launch, and she wrote a question, and it was, why did you try so hard to have me? And it just broke the room. It broke the room, right? And that was like that. I just needed that book to exist for her. And then like, so now like she has this book, and I just like that you liked that part where I'm just like, this is for Ev. You all can have it, but you got to leave the rest for her. And it's been really, the whispers keep happening. Now it's, I read your book and I went through this. Like, I never told you. And so I feel like that it's getting louder, and I'm grateful for that. But I have some books too to show, because I have Rebecca's books, My Place in the Spiral and an Unfurling Fronds. You mentioned books. I'm going to talk about My Place in the Spiral, not because it's my favorite, but because it has pictures. And I think about the way Rebecca has written this book. And I don't, this is not shameless promotion. Like, these I think are good books. Like, these are good books. Like, I've read them. They stay with me. Yeah. But if you are looking for a book that tells a story in an incredibly unique way, My Place in the Spiral, and I think just wins the cover contest hands down. And an Unfurling Frond also has pictures, but it's told a little more traditionally. But then I turn to the internet chat that's not at all traditional. But I just think to get to know people and to just get to know people, like, what's been so interesting is like people I know and love that have walked along the journey with me, and Rebecca, same, I'm sure, and are just like, I never knew any of that. Like, I had one person, like a really close friend, at the end of the book launch, she wrote me this note and was like, I'm so sorry if I was ever one of those people that said one of those things that made you feel bad. And I'm just like, I don't even remember if you were. Don't worry about it. But just, I think getting to know and work and walking alongside Rebecca as she worked on these, and I, and the dedication, I say, Rebecca, that my book wouldn't exist without you. But we're all just people that still have stories, even those of us who are loud and open and honest. And it's still terrifying to have people read such honest things and such vulnerable things. It's been a delight to be a part of a conversation that I think people need to have. And I think, Rebecca, you can speak to that too a little bit about your books.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had similar things. It's so interesting, like how people like, I never knew this about you. I had people from, when I was younger, especially with My Place in the Spiral as well, because I talk a lot about growing up. But they were like, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea that pressure was on you. And so I thought that was really interesting. I love getting the little notes from people after they've read it, right? And I think this is, we've talked about that in the podcast, that we try to share our love to authors of what they've done. And Athena's talked about writing to publishers in this space. And those things matter so much, right? To take that moment and to let an author know the impact that they had on your life or that their story did. But I think, I often talk about how we all have stories, and that by reading in general, not only writing, but in reading, we're joining those conversations. We're becoming part of that community. And so I think, for me, that's what I love so much about memoir, is that it gives us access to other people's stories to kind of see ourselves in this bigger world as a collective going through our lives. And it can be the same or it can be totally different, but sometimes there's this element of seeing yourself in that space.
And that you have these two totally different stories. I love.
Right. No, and I think too, the best books and the best memoirs really make you think about. Sometimes it can be one particular thing that you focus on that you're like, oh, I haven't thought about that much. And I think with Colleen, with your book, it was about when the body feels almost separate than your own, like a separate thing you're taking care of that is not almost part of you, like things you've never thought about. Like, what if I do this yoga pose? Is this going to hurt? So like all this like stuff that all of a sudden it becomes really, really sensitive. Like you're carrying, like your body's made of glass almost, and you're looking at it as like, like I don't know what to do with it. That's gonna, and it becomes almost not superstitious, but you really start to go like, if I do that, will that, and so that was amazing to think of my body as this, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. Absolutely gorgeous. Really amazing. Made me totally think about my body and the way I treat my body in a different way. And then with Rebecca's too, about family and place and the language around that, and how we think about where we're from, and how we think about the land and our family and the ties to that, and what that means to how we grow and how we create our own sense of family and place. Like, I think, that's an amazing thing that I don't think, like the body part of yours, Colleen, that I thought about till I was reading through Rebecca's. I'm like, oh, what does this sense of place mean to me in my definition of family? So thank you both.
Thanks for reading them, Athena.
Oh my gosh, I love these books. I have Rebecca's over here. I should have grabbed two so I can hug them all at once. But
well, maybe this will inspire people to look for these books too, because it takes a lot of effort to put a book into the world, a lot of love and a lot of courage and a lot of audacity, I guess, too. But yeah, they're out in the world in the midst of all these other books, like we talked about, breaking through the noise. It's been fun to watch people come to the book. I haven't had any people I don't know yet come to it, and I know you've had that experience, Rebecca, so I'm eager for that and to see what that's like. But it's been fun and scary. It's been an exciting time for sure.
Yes. And it is amazing when people that you don't know, when it gets into that stage, that they start, reaching out to you, or you see other people reading it that you're like, who are they? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So yeah, we're super excited to share these recommendations for you for your start of your 2026 reading. Our memoirs, E = MC squared, My Place in the Spiral, and the Unfurling Frond. Links in the show notes. Thank you for joining us today. As always, we love you being with us here on this journey as we discuss books. And if you love this content, please make sure you're sharing it out and that you're liking and subscribing. All those things really count for our growth in this space. So wishing you all the best. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Happy New Year.